Marriage alone. But will do its thing.
Yeah, so. You know, they play on New Year's Eve.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. And now the other side. Yeah. Did they?
So that is a,
Boston, Michigan.
that is a no-brainer New Year's Eve plans. No-brainer.
What's
You
the
go to 8 o'clock, so you go to dinner at 6. Maybe you watch the first half, because you know how long that game's gonna be. And then you head home and you can celebrate at midnight. That's a no-brainer. And then,
You hope you're celebrating at midnight.
well, my wife is still mad that they lost to Michigan and she's refusing to go anywhere to watch the game.
Well, I can tell you, if my mother was still alive, she would have been furious.
I was not happy. I couldn't believe the game. They lost it last year.
Yes.
And we had won 5 years in a row. It is the country's biggest rivalry game as far as I know.
All right.
That was a terrible game. I've never seen such a mess.
It was bad.
It was
It was bad. So kind of my thing is I'm gonna get all decked out. And I'll watch it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
that's good. I'll give me something to do on New Year's Eve. I didn't know it was being played on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Dinner,
It is.
first half,
Yeah.
perfect. You know, are we ready?
Maybe. Sure.
Okay.
Now that we've had all this information.
Okay,
Yes.
Oh.
That's all right. We're ready. All right, so we
Great.
need to call the order.
Yes. Mark?
Yes.
Tracy? Yes. Barb?
Yes.
Sue? Yes. Tina?
Yes.
Okay, everybody? So
Yeah, you didn't say
guide
mine.
these things on our deck?
No,
you can flip them over.
It's kind of like a white.
Show that to Jesse. Which one did you get? Oh, I like that. Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere.
Thank you. Like I said, never mind. Let me drop it and work on your problem.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's good.
Question is, how many times a week does she think that's me?
Are we ready to roll call?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, any public participation?
There.
It's her.
Oh, I didn't say hi to Heather. Hi, Heather.
Oh, she did that.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Heather.
Yeah.
I don't know why, maybe we need to put the hub up. On top, that's all. Oh, maybe. Oh.
There's room. All right, we'll see if that picks up better for you, Heather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What did Amber get?
The best one.
You have the best one. Here, it's fine. It's fine. That's it. It's fine.
Good. They're all great. Where did you get these? Same.
Found them on Amazon. I mean, there's tons of them.
Oh, well, that is really neat.
Mark, I thought yours was perfect.
It is.
What is Mark?
I didn't either.
It just says you're the best.
Chaos coordinator.
I love that
That's cool.
because freaking miracle worker's not a job. Okay, we need the approval of the minutes of the November 22nd regular board meeting.
Mark,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue, yes, Tina.
That's right.
All right, Lynn, correspondence?
Alrighty.
The public library fund came in better than we all expected it to in December. And our share of the counties was just over $85,000. For the whole year, it exceeded both at the state level and what we had budgeted that we anticipated we would have. So that really helps to have, almost a quarter more than we thought we might get from the BCPL. I wanted to let you know that we got a very nice letter from Jim Schroeder, who is the mayor of the village of Sardinia, and that was in support of the application that we are participating in for the Appalachian Grant. That's not the county group, but it's this other group that involves libraries, and it's got, for our part, it would be a makerspace focus. And so because the commissioners declined to provide support letters for anything other than the county application that was going in, it was okay for us to have an elected official for one of the communities that we serve. So I reached out and big shout out to him for getting that to us. And then as far as other things going on, Ohio Library Council did a webinar just yesterday. And it is about the broadband funding that is coming from the federal government. The FCC has created a map, so supposedly where broadband is available. However, when I've gone and I put in our library branches addresses, 3 of them say that there is no such location. There's nothing. I mean, the library doesn't even exist. It doesn't come up as a. So. They are the Broadband Ohio office, the governor's office, the Broadband Ohio is asking public libraries to get the word out to everyone to make sure that they check their own addresses, their businesses' addresses, help all your friends and family to determine whether or not, number one, they're actually listed, or if it is correctly listed that they actually have service available to them. Because apparently what the funding is going to do is that the funding is going to come to states based upon unserved people, not necessarily underserved, but unserved. And so we don't want to have that condition that we've experienced in our libraries where somebody on the street here has got something, and so it gets on the map as everybody on the street having it, but that's not necessarily the case. So it really is important that every person who has a location goes in and checks. And so they are supposed to be sending us some marketing information, but in the meantime, you can go to broadbandmap.fcc.gov, and I want to say it's fairly easy for a government web portal. First thing is type in your address, and then it'll start listing things, and you can choose the right one. But then you have to go, is this correct? And do I have these things? But you can challenge what they have listed, and that's what's really going to be important, is challenging things that are not correct.
And there's a possibility, like, for example, what your region's built, where they may not even have our address, right?
Yes, yeah. And why do they not have the addresses of
Right.
3 of our 4 libraries?
Exactly.
Right.
When we have high-speed internet access at them.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
strange.
it is very strange, and we know that there are corrections that need to be made. So that's the big news and the big thing that we want to be doing right now. Otherwise, our state legislature has been lame duck session, and there's some election reform going on, some bills, and some education reform, and some of you may be, involved in some of those. There's not anything that specifically impacts public libraries at this moment. So we'll see what happens if they try to force something through, but it seemed like they were going to maybe just do early recess and remove those after the first of the year. And the Ohio Imagination Library, which partners with Dolly Parton Imagination Library, is now active in all 88 counties of Ohio. I would suspect, although I have not researched that, it's just speculation, that we're probably the only state in country that actually has that level of participation. All counties in the country or in the state participating. So it's exciting, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Lynn. On to financial reports, Ms. Sarah.
Okey dokey. Appropriation summary report. Salary. Salaries. Sorry, let's do catch up. I was trying to. It wasn't in my stuff. Okay, I got it. Go ahead, please. Don't get me trouble. I've been fighting bronchitis for a couple weeks. Salaries, for the month of November, $66,572. That's up about $4,800 from October. We had, bigger pay periods, in November versus October. Employee fringe benefits, $14,981. That's down, $1,131 compared to October. Purchased and contracted services, $18,518. That is down $14,000 from October. Library materials, information and supplies. Library materials was $25,475.28. Supplies $2,355. That's up $6,235 compared to October. Overall, the general appropriations were down $4,827.99 compared to October. So I suspect December will look a little bit different, trying to close all those POs out.
I was gonna say, like, supplies is only at 45%, so
Oh,
it's gonna be like a
oh, yes.
reorganization.
Just you wait, Tina, just you wait. I think I've already paid Ingram like $10,000.
Sounds all right.
Good times, good times. Last page of the appropriation summary, the month-to-date expenditures overall. That was $350,477. We did some transfers in the amount of $210,000. So that's why that's a lot bigger. Yeah. So bank reconciliation report, receipts for November, I had $80,439. I made $142,979.22 in payments, and I had some adjustments in the amount of $2,426. Outstanding payments. Here today, I have 2 forward edge POs, or not POs, checks that have yet been cashed, both from November. I may reach out.
They hear from both of us.
Yeah. General fund cash flow summary. Let's see, my PLF for November was $78,471.47. Other receipts, $284.36. Giving my total general fund revenue for November, $78,755. And then these are some numbers that I already talked about. So my total general fund expenditures for November was $337,903. Leaving my cash balance $689,973.
Discuss moving anything more on that to start, or do you need that?
I feel like that's probably a good number to keep in there. Yeah, if PLF is crazy next year and it just keeps piling up, I could see us making another transfer.
That's kind of a good.
Yeah. Cash summary by fund, total expenditures, $140,477.12. That doesn't include the transfer, that's why that number is lower. November 2022 expenditure reconciliations payment, $60,216. The 2 payrolls were very similar. The November 15th was $33,536. The November 30th was $33,740. The board share retirement, the OPERS, $9,418. Medicare tax, the board share, $944.96. Employer health, $4,415. You'll see my local taxes. That'll be different next month because I'll pay that at the end of December. Health out of pocket for our employees was $1,090. For transfer of $210,000, leaving the total expenditures for November $350,477.12. Well, where's that? Questions about payments? I knew that's what happened. Any questions, we'll grab that. Sorry.
Oh.
There's popping bags, you can't stop.
Sometimes you think the liquid's gonna help.
Well, it makes it.
Yeah.
Sorry. When can say I didn't do that all week.
Yeah.
Any questions from Sarah?
I will say one more thing. Open POs right now is 156,978. At the end of November, but I did close a bunch, so I'm at 129,000 now.
What is this? Good tax summary, the transfer out of short-term funds, and what does that mean?
And so, yeah, I was gonna say, it's all, I will explain, and then if Doug missed anything, she can add. So, and when we approve the appropriations every year, we usually plan on making transfers into special funds at the end of the year. And so this was us saying, we've got enough money, we're going to have to transfer.
Okay, so it's kind of the reserve you have just in case you.
And part of it really is so for library budgeting and tracking purposes, it's really helpful to have special funds separate from the general fund. So we have a special fund called the technology fund. And so we try to plan to put money into it each year to build that up. So you can, we've got to replace the server. We've got to,
It's
all
like a
this.
savings account.
It really is, I guess, and so this, one of the big places, so technology is one of the regular places. And then the other is capital improvements, because once they're not getting any younger, there's always something that needs to be done. So that's what that money is. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
okay,
say beginning the 200,000, and that's where that is.
yes, yeah. Absolutely. Good question.
So we will need a motion, please.
I'll second it. Oh, Sarah's not here to call the roll.
Well, okay, so how did you do it?
It's back.
Good, because they gotta call the roll on voting on the,
I'm so sorry.
No.
You knew that would happen.
We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
They were. Hey.
Or two. I had it last month, but I.
Oh my gosh. It's been long, okay.
So
Yeah, 5A1.
I answered the question satisfactorily.
Yeah. And what? You
Do I do all
made the motion?
Tracy? Yeah.
Okay,
Followed by,
I
Barb.
second
Thank
it.
you, Barb. Mark,
yes,
Tracy?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Tina?
Okay.
I need a motion to approve use of People's Bank credit card rewards with the current balance of approximately 150,000 points to reduce invoice balances in Q1 of 2023.
How much money does that equal?
Is it dollar for dollar with the People's Bank? Point.
I've only done that one time and I don't.
It may be 10%. So I think we have.
15,000.
Yeah, 150,000 points. So it might be 15,000. At worst, it would be 1,500 and still. That is-
Yeah, I think.
Still,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would think 150,000, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we don't, we let them accumulate for some time, and while it's a no-brainer to us to apply them to an invoice, it's really good for the auditor to show that you're aware of this going on and that you've approved that we go ahead and do this. And we're hoping that we've got enough within the first quarter of 2023 to actually use all the jobs.
Absolutely, I'm sure we will.
I make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Barb,
Yes.
Karen, yes, Sue, yes, Tina.
All right, the next item is part of the updated agenda, 5A3. I need a motion to approve the amended 2022 final appropriations for general fund 1,000 in the amount of $1,845,520.58.
That's from making those transfers. I'll second. Mark,
Yes.
Tracy. Yes. Barb.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Tina. Thank you.
All right, next is a depository agreement update.
So we did talk about this in maybe the last two months, maybe, that it's time to be thinking about it because, our last depository agreement was a 5-year and it's coming up in March, I believe, officially is when it has to be done. So Sarah reached out, or First State Bank reached out first to us and wanted to be able to give us a proposal. And then Sarah reached out to People's Bank, which is our current bank, to ask for the same thing.
I reached out to 2 people and they haven't responded.
Okay. So in January, we'll need to be really moving on it and make sure that we've got them ready to turn in their proposal so that no later than February, and actually ideally January, because that still gives us several weeks to be able to be ready for March 1st and let that voted upon, just to do our regular banking. So
And you're just doing the 2 banks for state and people.
to this point we have, and one of the reasons we're a little bit limited is because People's
People's is in 3 out of
3 of the
4,
4
and so is
community-
First State.
so is First State. Because if we don't have one of their branches in the community, then somebody has to go and do banking somewhere else, or we have to use the local bank and then use it as a pass-through. So
I think we mentioned merchants, because I think they're maybe in 2 out of 4, Georgetown and Mount Orr, but
yeah, so.
yeah.
So that's that, we are working on it, but I think everybody's busy right now, and
Mhm.
so we'll be prodding them in the next couple of weeks.
Just out of curiosity, do you know that you're working at the First State?
I could easily tell you in my email.
Oh, my goodness, Ryan.
Ryan, somebody.
Unger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was good, he got us a proposal, and so we've got that one, but it's People's that it's not.
Yeah, I know Brian, but I know Jeff Ratliff really well. But it sounds like you're.
Yeah, we already have People's Banks.
Yeah.
First State Banks proposal and.
All right, on to the executive director's report, the building report and statistics, and just,
Picture this.
I saw that, and I just want to remind everybody Heather is available for questions.
Oh, I think that's. She is like. It's a big turkey.
That is a big trip. So Tanya sent her regrets. She had a conference this evening. I think she was one of those 17 concerts to go to or whatever, and so she's not with us tonight, but she sent me a little video clip of the turkey. Because apparently the cost, which obviously is there for protecting our flooring. It was a different kind of surface than the turkey had, been used to. And we were stamping his foot. He wasn't, aggressive or excited, but it was like, who was that sound? It was a funny thing to watch. So,
And they don't have tarps in his natural surroundings?
well, sometimes they do. Trust me, I've been to lots of backwoods farms, might have grown up on one. You would find all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, that is a good looking turkey.
It is.
I want to eat it.
And that owl is too adorable.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
And they can be very friendly too. They attach themselves to some people and follow them around, yeah. And it goes.
Oh, yeah, goats are just adorable.
So, Amber, anything, we're in one of your buildings. Is there anything you'd like to point out about things
Yeah.
that's going on?
Amber.
Other than that, everything is fine.
Yeah. The big, I'm sorry, coming with the big hit, so that was, there's a couple pictures in there of that. Our mocktails and masterpieces program that we had at both Fayetteville and Sardinia was just extravagant. It was so awesome. We have the greatest mocktail bartender on staff. He was so popular that night. It's Jason Rankin, he works here. He was so popular that night, well, both nights, that people were actually like, can we book you?
Oh my God.
And he was like, well, if it's a library outreach program, we can figure something out, maybe, you know, like it was like a real. So we're actually planning a date night in February, here at the Sardinia Libraries. Georgetown has done that kind of program for years. But we wanted to do a mocktails program with it, so we're gonna do like hors d'oeuvres, mocktails, movie for date night here. So we're bringing back our, we're bringing back our bartender, and he takes it very seriously. I mean, like pouring, you know, liquid down the and the spoon and like, so those programs were really great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And if, I don't know if it's still available somewhere, but if we, you know.
It's on YouTube, the video.
The video,
It's on
he did a little promo video that actually was done by.
Taryn McLean, and he's going to maybe do another one for our hors d'oeuvres date night.
Who is a young media person trying to develop a portfolio and so offered to do something for us. And this was, you know, he did a really nice job editing and yes, Jason did a fabulous job of doing that promotional piece. Great.
Thank you, Amber.
If there's not anything else, or if Heather doesn't have anything to say, since Mark already threw her under the bus for possible something to say, we can move on to statistics.
Sure.
So November tends to be a slower month. Obviously, we've got that holiday in there, and so that kind of breaks things up. And so if you are comparing month to month, you know, with your last month's packet or whatever, October tends to be good, even November is, but a couple of things that I noticed you may not be able to actually see it because these are some drill down numbers that I look at is that the hotspots, I don't know if you recall that we had a we had to move from one provider to another because Sprint took over T-Mobile and vice versa, and it was a little bit of a mess for a while, but it was fine, right? Everything was fine, and we're actually, those numbers are recovering now and getting back closer to what they were before. So we know that, and we've talked about this a little bit, that the service, the coverage of the hotspots is just a bit different under this new network. So some people who may have been able to use them before are not able to use them now. And so we're still looking at that and seeing whether this is the best fit. But for now, with those numbers close to 100 hotspots per month are being circulated. Well, we only own 60. We know that, you know, they're being used. So far so good. And you'll be seeing this next month when we actually see year-end figures and do some comparison with prior years. But our digital circulation is just continuing to climb. You know, I don't know if the pandemic helps that even more, you know, as people went, oh, this is a viable option, and they stuck with it. But, you know, I'm still seeing some really substantial increases. And so that kind of surprised me. But otherwise, things look pretty good to me. And just as circulation has slowed down a little bit, some of our activity is the focus of our activity has changed a bit. So things like, you know, doing regular reading, we're starting to slow down a bit as we're trying to kind of just regroup and get the year finished with year-end programs and that kind of thing. So
It's a quick question.
Yes,
So in-house use, how is wireless different from the hotspot?
So wireless use is what our access points are actually when people come in and they are hooking onto our building.
Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then the hotspots are on units that
Gotcha.
should be
Okay.
checked out.
Okay, and then in-house use,
So that could be anything, okay, somebody takes, you know, several books off the shelf to look at them on the table, leaves them on the table, plays with 17 toys.
okay.
Yeah. And I will just say, in-house use has always been kind of a squishy number, I mean, because when people put things back, right?
Right,
they use
and then
them,
you
they
don't
put them back, and we don't know.
Right.
And sometimes, a kid will empty out the whole toy bin, but play with 3 of the toys.
But he touched on.
He may have, and we try to be realistic about that, and not overcount, but it's a little bit spooky. That's the number.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. On to announcements, please.
And I do have paper copy if anybody decides they would, after all of the announcements that I sent yesterday. So in addition to the facilities things, I might have already mentioned this, maybe before everybody's here. So the mailbox at Mount Orb, and Heather can chime in if she wants to. But we had to put up an actual mailbox at the building. It used to be they came and delivered, and sometimes they'd come and knock at the staff door, and sometimes they go in the front, but apparently, because we're not open every day, and it may not have been on their schedule, they said, we're going to stop delivering the mail unless you put a box. So we got on that as quickly as we could, but I believe the notice that we got was, I don't remember when it was dated, November 1st, and we got it after Thanksgiving. I mean, we had 1 week before they were going to stop delivering mail. So, Heather can go into that if you want to, but the box is up. It's a nice box. It's a larger box, and it's right, actually, if you're pulling into the Mount Orb parking lot, it's on the left-hand side, and it's right beside one of the big light posts. But as the mailman is going out, mail carrier is going out of the parking lot, it's right after the parking lot light. So we believe it's pretty well protected from any snow plows or anything else. Yes, it's not near Route 68, and I don't want people, I don't want our staff going or across the road or any of that business. So that's why we actually put it accessible from the lot. And now it's a matter of Heather having to remember to assign somebody to go and check it every day. And she says it's a nice box, and it is.
I've got it on their daily list. And I did have a car full of mail when I stopped to tell them we have a mailbox.
Yeah, they held it for a while. So I get it. They're like everybody else, they're strapped for workers, and this is a really busy time for them. So they didn't need to be messing with that. So I got it. So just a couple of changes to the funding, things that are in progress. I finally got a response to our application for emergency connectivity fund. That was the money that came from the federal government for pandemic purposes that paid for a year's worth of the hotspots subscriptions. And then they opened it up again because there was money left. And so we applied again in April and certified everything. The application was good and on time, but we heard nothing. And finally, I got an email from them, I guess it was last week, and they were just saying, well, something about the way I listed it. I put the cost as a lump sum, and they broke it into the actual per month fee and then the surcharges. Yeah, $22.99 and 17 cents, but it didn't change the bottom line at all. So I hope that means that very soon they'll be releasing another way that says, oh, you did get funded, and then we can start submitting all those bills we've already paid and get some money back for that. And we have not yet heard about that Ohio Department of Education grant. First, they were going to have an answer by the end of October, and then it was going to be at the end of November, and now it's going to be supposed to be for Christmas, I guess. And we do have a little more information. OLC has been notified that all the recommendations have been submitted to their leadership. And so I would assume that means they'll be rolling something out. Now, we're all being told, well, it doesn't mean, just because you haven't heard anything doesn't mean you won't be, won't get any money. But, I would hope that if we really were in the running, if they had any questions or anything, they would have contacted us by now. So who knows, right? Heather and I will both look at it as a blessing if we don't get the money, because managing $250,000 through an entity other than library system and its federal money is is a pain and we could focus our time elsewhere, but we'll be glad if we get it too, because that's money that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So we'll be happy either way. And then we did participate in 2 of the Appalachian Community Grant. The first round of grant applications, which was for technical assistance, the county collected the one-pager information and some additional stuff that I'd given you before, and I hope they included that. I haven't seen what their application looked like, but I sent them everything they requested. And then this other group that included libraries throughout Appalachian, Ohio, that really is focused on workforce development, but there are lots of different pieces, and the library could be a makerspace piece, and so we could still possibly participate even if Brown County doesn't get funded. So we're trying to have our fingers in many pots, hoping that somewhere along the way, you know, some of this will filter down to us and help out our libraries.
So you guys applied for any of those LSTA, like the rolling grants?
Not at this time. We actually, Heather and I have talked about this some, you know, that there are, you know, there are several things that have kind of risen to the surface as, okay, these are really good things and we really should be doing them system-wide. And how do we get the money to afford to do that? And so we're looking at these pieces now, some of them which came out of some programmers' ideas, but some that kind of morphed from other applications that we put in, and we thought, oh, you know, we could tweak this. So we're looking at those. That is kind of the next level. But I'll tell you, I probably received notice of about 6 to 8 different grant applications. Most of them due February 1st, you know, that we could do. And I really am kind of waiting to find out about this Department of Education one before we start putting any effort into applying for something else.
Are any of them where you have to match funds, or all of them?
Actually,
Unobligated.
a number of them are ALA or PLA, and so there's not, it's just a gift, but those are, you know, that's national and much more competitive usually, and so, you know, I'd rather maybe put in the 25% match if there's, you know, going to be a little more opportunity for actually getting the grant approved. And then Heather, if you want to talk about that semi truck that pulled in at 3:45 on Friday afternoon one day, huh? Or not?
4:15.
What was 4:45? Yeah.
Yeah, we all have winter weatherization kits from Duke Energy, which is a blessing. I think our patrons will appreciate it. It was just not a blessing at a Friday afternoon with a big pallet being delivered that you didn't know was coming.
Yeah, but really shout out to Duke Energy for actually providing these through our library systems, and they should be also providing us with some marketing materials so we can make patrons aware. But until then, our staff, you know, they know our clientele, they know our patrons, and so, you know, they are free to go ahead and start handing these out when they believe it's appropriate to do so. I think that's it.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. Okay, on to committee reports, starting with Personnel Committee and the meetings of the November 16th, 2022 meeting.
I don't know if the committee members have seen anything in the minutes that they thought was totally off base. And then you'll hear more about that as we actually get policy stuff over.
Okay. And then nominating committee, the slate of officers for 2023, President Mark Miller, Vice President Sue Milliken, Secretary Tracy Bonner.
And so those will be officially put on at the organization. It will be later today. And Barb, I threw you into President Pro Tem again. At the beginning of that meeting, since, you know,
that.
yeah. And then you can hand the gavel later once they're all voted in.
Okay, number 6, a motion to approve the contract with Perfectly Polished Cleaning for custodial services at Mount Orth and Sardinia for the period of January 1 through December 31st, 2023. at a rate of 18,850.80. Breakdown: Mount Orab, 12,567.24, and Sardinia, 6,283.56.
And these are the same costs that they have been, and what you'll notice is when we get to the next motion that I've split out, because we are moving away from that provider. And at this time, since we don't have another contract, I think it was important to make sure that we have the other buildings set for when we need to have it set. And then we can do month to month on the at the Georgetown building. So just a little by way of explanation.
Right.
But that, yeah.
So we need a motion for both of these. Okay, I motion the first one to approve contact with Perfect Polish Cleaning for Mount Orab and Sardinia.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Mark,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Barb,
yes,
Karen,
yes,
Sue,
Mhm.
Tina.
Yes.
Number 7, a motion to approve contract with Perfectly Polished Cleaning for custodial services at Georgetown on a month-to-month basis beginning January 1, 2023 at a rate of $1,200 per month.
I'll move. Okay, I'll second.
Sorry, quick question. How long do we expect to be paying that monthly rate? And would they be able to prorate if we went into a yearly contract? Because I noticed 12 times 12 is 14,000, which is higher than Mount Orab.
So their original fee for the Georgetown building, well, and the Georgetown building is 2 floors, and
True.
so it tends to be that way,
Okay.
but it is just about month to month is about 11% higher than the new. So that's it was 1080 per month when it was part of all 3 buildings, which is why I've identified some potential other contractors, but I haven't gone out to bid yet. So.
And do they have like a time frame? Like they have to have a month's advance, or are they good? Like, let's say they plead in February, we're like, we don't need you anymore. They're okay with that.
I don't want to give anybody less than 30 days. I think that that's appropriate in our,
Mark,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
And then number 8, Lynn, I assume we do these one at a time.
yes,
Okay, so we'll start with 8A. I need a motion to approve personnel policy revisions on the dress code.
Are there any questions?
well, I was gonna ask if you wanted somebody to make a motion first and then start discussing and asking questions, or.
I'll move. We discussed this.
Yeah, we
No, yeah.
We discussed this. here.
Yes.
I'll second it.
So, actually, if you have any deep questions, we have, Amber here was on the, staff task force that went, and researched this. And yes, just kind of as a bigger picture, when we had all the conversations with staff early this year and, we're looking at, well, what beyond wages is important to you as an employee, dress code and other kinds of leave were the things that came up. And so I said, okay, let's turn this over to a task force. Amber was the guide, the manager guide for the one looking at the dress code. And Heather helped to guide the group that worked on the birthday leave. And they came up with, they did their research, they looked at what other libraries do, what businesses do. And they presented proposals to me, which then I, looked at if they needed any little tweaking or whatever. I did so, and then the personnel committee reviewed those last month. So that's kind of how we got where we are.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, it was good. I was really impressed.
The current generation, this is very important to them.
Yeah.
For those keeping a pulse, and, in 1990, when I was at Safeco Insurance, we had to wear a white dress shirt every day to work with the sport coat. that whenever you left your desk, you had to put your sport coat on, whether you're going to the bathroom, lunch, or
Oh
whatever,
my gosh.
tie, that was it. You know, and even at Great American, conservative, little stuffy, you know, they had finally, was probably the last Fortune 500 company to relinquish. And that's critically important today. I love it, Amber. I really do. Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
Yay, team.
Yay, but we need to, we did it. We have a first and a second.
Mark,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen, yes, Sue,
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Look at all different motions.
Yeah, because some of them are person. They could all.
they're all personnel.
Yeah.
B, I need a motion to approve personnel policy revisions on emergency situations.
I make a motion. In emergency situations.
I'll second.
And this one was not done by a task force, but as I was looking at these other ones and came across this one, I thought, oh, we didn't really update that to include our remote work situations. And so the additions to it clarify how that's handled if somebody's actually scheduled to work on a remote day when the library is closed or somewhere else. So that's what that is all about.
Mark,
Yes,
Tracy.
Yes.
Barb,
yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Sue, yes, Tina.
All right, the last one, motion to approve personnel policy revisions on birthday leave.
Which I think is really neat.
I love it. I'll move.
Second,
Heather, I don't know if you have anything you want to add since you worked most closely with this group, right? I'm not missing much. You addressed it, and she was, okay.
I would just say that we had a lot of interest from other libraries. When we put this out on the listserv and asked if anybody had a policy. We didn't have anyone that had a policy they could share with us, but they all wanted to see ours when we finished with it.
I will say one thing though, and I don't know why it took, reviewing it last night for me to go, oh, so we had said effective December 18th. That's the beginning of a payroll, and I'm sure that's why, we just, it was there and we just couldn't think about it. But for this leave, really, because we're saying people have to take it in the month of their birthday, it really doesn't impact payroll, except for with one exception. So I want to change that. So right now it says effective December 18th, 2022, all employees eligible for blah, blah, blah. But I think we need it to read January 1st of 2023, so that beginning on that day, people can start taking the leave. Yes.
The only question I have is you probably have a small enough staff that this may not be an issue, but what if you have 2 birthdays and they want to do the same day? Does your staffing allow for that, or?
That is the manager's responsibility.
At their discretion.
It is at their discretion, and we work under the philosophy of, you have to have enough public service staff to be able to do what we need to do. And it's a little bit, different branches have different needs. And so there's a little bit of wiggle room, but basically we don't do approved in advance leave for more than one person on public service staff at a time, because you're always gonna have somebody else sick or whatever going on. And so that's, but they need to do it and not stress themselves out with short staffing, and and they're fully capable of doing that.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Georgetown Facility Project
Did you
update.
vote?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we have to vote. don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, I got,
My bad.
Yeah, no,
I got the motion, but I didn't.
okay.
Mark,
Yes,
Tracy, yes, Barb,
yes.
Karen,
yes,
Sue, yes, Tina.
Things that.
Okay, now we can move on to number 9, which is the Georgetown Facility Project Update. Okay, so for the record, and because I'm in the industry, that is a big number. 425, 032, that's a big number. That is a flag to insurance companies. We call those large losses. And garners a lot of attention. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that big.
When people were asking me at the beginning of all of this, what did I think, well, how much do you think it's gonna cost? And, my gut said it's gonna be at least $250,000. When, even before we got into things like the elevators destroyed and we got mold now, and of course, we do have some of this. Like the drainage is not an insurance thing.
Yeah.
That's part of, what we have to do, but it's all part of the cost of this entire project.
Yes.
So at least as far as insurance company is concerned, there are some things that would be taken out because they weren't part of, that and are not going to be claimed. But when we're looking at what it's going to take to actually finish all of this and do it right, that's what I'm looking at here. Are those numbers? Yeah, it's ugly.
So I wouldn't have sneezed at 300. Okay, I wouldn't have sneezed, but you're at 425 and people are thinking,
Oh, yeah. Well, and the other part of this is too, besides the fact that there was.
Yeah, I'll be just stronger.
The elevator was completely destroyed. That was a big one.
Yeah.
And all of these old building things that we're running into. Part of this is also the fact that we rolled it into the renovation that we were looking at, do we need to start doing a capital campaign because we've got this funder who's willing to also put money into it. But some of this is elevated by the fact that, okay, that little gaming area that we were going to want, well, now's the time to do it because if we're reconstructing this bottom floor, we do it now, and so it might be closer to 300,000 if we didn't have those other things that roll into it.
And this is typically normal whenever you see that there's a loss with the building, that you have the insurance part, and then a lot of building owners say, well, since we're opening up this wall, we might as well. I think this is pretty normal, I think, but that was just a little bit of an eye opener.
Yeah, it's so when you look at that and then you think, well, all of the things that have delayed progress on this, and so all these tiny little pieces are adding up to that. 3 restoration companies,
Oh, yeah.
that alone, okay, well, they didn't do a good job and they even created more damage. So now we can have somebody come in and clean up their mess. And so it got ugly. But one of the reasons that I put this together was, number one, we're finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel for this project. And, I want you all to have kind of a summary of it. There are a couple of things like the Rumpke, that has some money. There's still a little piece of that, they've got some furniture of ours that we don't know has been repaired, cleaned or whatever, the way it's supposed to, but they want money before they return it, which I'm not willing to do. And so that's at an impasse because the insurance company is also involved in this, maybe not an impasse, but it just takes forever with all the various things.
I tried to explain that to Jeremy.
Oh, it's insane. And if one of us had time to just be doing this all the time, maybe we'd be able to do, but if that's not the way life is right at this point in time. And so I also wanted to look at, well, where have we gotten the money to fund this project so far? And where are we short? And I was able to provide this to our funder and got a verbal commitment to cover that red line at the bottom.
Good.
I expect that there might even be a check before the end of the year. So that can go in there and fulfill, another part of our budget there, but, we're getting down to that point where we're looking at pennies and, how do we make sure that we can finish this out? So
What was the date of the occurrence again?
August 31st, 2021. Yeah, it's been over a year.
Which typically doesn't.
Well, and pandemic and supply chain and. Yeah.
What did the
And the wet
insurance
wall.
actually cover? Because it's not, it's not even half of what.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, they're gonna pay for the ensuing water damage
That's it.
is typically, yeah, so you have a pipe that bursts in the wall and floods the place. Anything damaged by water, the insurance company will pick up. They're not gonna pick up the pipe.
With the repair.
Right, because that would be wear and tear, age, etc. But it's all the ensuing water damage. So that could be carpeting, it could be an elevator, it could be baseboards, drywall. That's what they pick up.
Okay.
Then, if you go outside that, anything not related to the water then would fall back on the owner.
And some things were pretty cut and dry. Okay, so for example, that very first call disaster services, they were the ones who took the water damaged books and freeze dried, did all that kind of thing. So they were that amount is how much they charged. And so the insurance covered that amount. Insurance covered the $41,200 for the elevator. There have been a number of contents issues that they have not, they are nickel and diming us about. There are issues, well, for example, the meeting room carpet, which, got tracked on by the first remediation service when they were bringing things down to the bottom and taking things. They just want us to clean those and not the fact that they traipse through the hydraulic fluid laden remains in the bottom and up the stairs without covering anything. And so, there are pieces here that I really think that the insurance company should have stepped up and, it's clean, really, carpet that's been,
Thank you,
horrible.
insurance companies.
I'm a prosecuting attorney for, for some of these things and say, this is, but so there are a couple of things that we have, we just got the meeting room carpet uncovered and all those things out there. And so those are pieces that are as yet unresolved, but will have to be dealt with. So there, this is not bottom line. This is, there are some things,
And this is just an update, and I appreciate you sharing that, Lynn. I really do. Any other questions for Lynn on?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So do we have an ETA on when we think this might be done? Because obviously, like you said, this is an estimate, so it may be higher than 425 at the end of the day.
So when is a good question? So M&R, the new construction company that you approved the contract with, has actually, they've got materials ordered. They've got whoever their sub is doing the one part, the plaster work, the whatever is ready actually for next week to come in, and they're doing the bathrooms, they're finishing up the bathrooms. So maybe the AC part is done. Keith is where they're working on the drains.
So it's coming together.
It is.
Like with the M&R, this 32,000, is that a fixed fee or?
They gave a range.
Okay.
And the 32, whatever was the high range, because again, 100-year-old walls that are plastered, and you don't know what's gonna have to be done. But I spoke with Mike, is the M of M&R, myself a couple of times, and he spoke about people he's done work for, and by association, I feel really I didn't feel bad before about, you know, I just really didn't know other than the professional, but they're going to do a good job for us, and if there's anything that comes up that was unexpected, we will hear about it right away, and we'll have opportunity to go, okay, we can squeeze another $5,000. Yeah, so.
It's just very difficult to establish an ETA, especially when it's in an older building, and especially in the current climate. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And a lot of times contractors are gonna be hesitant to even give you that, because 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna be able to keep
Yeah,
it.
Right.
yeah.
So you just keep chugging along and
You'd like to say guarantee me in 2 months, right? But
Right.
I mean, you just can't.
Yeah, we went through that when we built our house.
Yeah.
It's 14 months and
Yeah.
$40,000.
Yeah.
it's very frustrating.
It is.
I mean, very, very
But what
frustrating.
can you do? You know, you have to
Nothing.
pay it.
You're at their mercy. I hate to
Well,
say it.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you talk about frustrating, you know, I just want to publicly say that, you know, the Georgetown staff have lived in this for this
Oh,
long.
I'm sure.
You know,
We were there
and-
last week tonight and it works great.
But juggling, or, you know, when you don't have any place to land and call your own, I mean, it just has been hard. So I, you know, they've really done a fantastic job, and
I think they should do like a reception when it's done.
well, and
Party.
you know, we had
Right.
really hoped that things in October, when we hosted the chambers meeting in October, that was our original. I mean, here's then the drainage, right? Yeah.
Sounds like a mocktail party to me. Okay, on to number 10, a motion to enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees.
I move we enter executive session to consider the employment of public employees.
I second.
Mark,
Yes.
Tracy, yes, Barb,
Yes.
Karen, yes, Sue, yes, Tina.
Yes.
Anything else that you want to have or say to Amber and or Heather before they?
Just thanks to both of you.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Well.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy the time with your family.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, we stop. Meeting here. Zoom. Stop.